It's Monday, and it's that time to welcome everyone back to the tavern. Jack and I are honored to be here on this holiday weekend. We hope everyone had a great holiday, and with today being Memorial Day, we would like to take a moment to pause and reflect and honor those veterans who paid the ultimate sacrifice in defending our nation. We owe them so much, and the only way to pay respect is to honor their sacrifices. When I was a sergeant in the New York Army National Guard, I got deployed to Iraq in 2005-2006. And I worked as a journalist with the 138th Public Affairs Detachment from New York too. I had the amazing honor of writing stories for great soldiers, helping the Iraqi people attain a better way of life. It wasn't an easy task for these soldiers to do, but I got to see firsthand the professionalism they displayed towards the Iraqi people. Unfortunately, one of my jobs as a journalist was to attend memorial services for those soldiers killed in action. I didn't know these soldiers, but what I witnessed was beyond amazing. Other soldiers from that unit who were friends of those who were killed had the opportunity to talk about their buddy that they lost. The love and respect they had for their fallen brother and sister was unbelievable. I don't remember the exact number of memorial services, but I think it was around 20 I covered. And my unit was fortunate enough not to lose any soldiers during our deployment, and I salute them for a job well done. We did a great job, and it was an honor serving with them. Veterans Day is for people like them and me who did not pay the ultimate sacrifice. Memorial Day is when we pay our respects for the ones who lost their lives. Never forget it. Because of those people, we have our freedoms today, Jack.
Congratulations, Dennis. That's well said. Memorial Day, I like to think about people as yourself because there was a sacrifice. You were over there doing your job that was asked of you. And not only did you do it, but you did it without complaining, and you did it to excel. I have another friend of mine, Matt Maricelli. He's retired out of the Coast Guard, and not on foreign soil, but he did save many lives in our country. He worked his way up. He did law enforcement on the water, and he did rescues in the helicopters in Florida, which are very busy. Those are busy waters, both law enforcement-wise and through the helicopter saving lives. So every time I see a veteran, I thank them for their service. It was deserved.
Absolutely. So with all the political bickering we have in our nation right now, we must make sure we never forget about our military people in every branch of service. Jack and I thank you for giving us our freedoms so we can do these podcasts like we are today. So today we want to get into a very controversial subject that is affecting our country right now, and that is the critical race theory. Our politicians use it every opportunity they get to divide people against each other because they have it in their little heads that we are a racist country, which is not true. And the critical race theory is a school of thought meant to emphasize the effects of race on one's social standing.
Well, I'd like to share with everybody, you know, I come from a big city. I worked in a big city. I worked with many different assets of society. And I would like to tell you folks who I hear the most racist rhetoric from. And those are the people that are in office today. And unfortunately, right now, I think Dennis agrees with me. I think my sister Margaret and Mike believe with me this also, that it leans more on the Democratic Party. I keep saying that they are using Ku Klux Klan tactics that was used in 1865 to 1870 to intimidate, threaten, and harm people. We have major companies that are doing woke training, and that's in fear of the government. People are fearing our government. How is that possible? How can we fear our government when they're supposed to be working for us? You know, I don't understand why. You know, they have lost such track of what the sacrifices of this weekend were for. This weekend is the sacrifice that many made, the ultimate sacrifice. They never came home, and it contributed to the freedoms that we have today. And the majority of this country, mostly from the top down, fear our government. They refuse to stand up against what they say in fear of retaliation. And that's what the Revolutionary War was fought against. The original government that governed this country was Great Britain, and we feared them. And we said, we're not going to fear you no more.
You know, Vice President Harris, just to show you how out of touch this administration is, Vice President Harris sent out a tweet. She said, I hope everybody enjoys a long weekend, and we hope you do. We hope you have a great barbecue, you're with your family and friends. But she didn't mention once the sacrifices that our soldiers and all our military personnel have endured for this country. That just shows you how out of touch they really are with society. You know, but this critical race theory we hear about all the time is nothing more than a scam for the Democratic Party, because they want you to think that white people are elite and better than everyone else. That is far from the truth, because what we see is people every day, white, black, and Asian, going to work trying to make a living. It's not about critical race theory. It's about inequality. There is a poverty issue in America, not a race issue. In 2019, approximately 34 million people lived in poverty, which is just over about 10% of the population.
Where do you think those places are?
I want you to listen closely to the next statistic I'm going to tell you. Here it is. 41.8% were white, non-Hispanic. 27.9% were Hispanic. 23.5% were black, and 4.4% were Asian. Almost 42% of white people in this country are living in poverty. So if there was a racial issue, that number would be reversed. So you can't tell me that white people are elite and better than everyone else, because there's just as many people in poverty, white, Asian, black. Again, it's not a race issue, it's an inequality issue.
Those are strong numbers. And I believe by the end of this administration, the poverty level in this country is going to drastically increase in all races, in all parts of this country, in the suburbs, in the cities. And we're talking about this critical race theory, and that's what they're hanging their hat on. This critical race theory, all right, this is what it is, places one or more social or ethnic groups in a better position to succeed, and the other groups, so they are disproportionately developed between the groups. So again, here we have our leaders of this country that are so lackluster, so far lower than the founding fathers are, that they want to divide this country again. But the end game is not to elevate the black community by any means. It's to bring every community down to what they feel is poverty. Because if we're all in poverty, they have more strength. So white privilege is the notion of social advantage benefits and courtesies that come with being a member of the dominant race. All of these things that this critical race theory is based on political emancipation, and it was written about on an essay by Karl Marx that he wrote in 1844. This is where they're getting this idea from. One of the main founders, we have three main founders of this critical race theory, and that the number one is Kimberly Crenshaw. Next one is Alan Freeman. And the other one is Cheryl L. Harris. And we're going to look into them and find out their background more in the next coming podcast. We just ran out of time this week to do it. So, Kimberly Crenshaw, the inventor, states, it is not that this critical race theory is not a noun, it's a verb. So, it cannot be narrow definition, but is considered to be an evolving and memorable practice. So in other words, no matter how hard you try, and I'm talking to the poverty-stricken folks, because this is now a noun, so no matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter, because you will never accomplish a life without racism. So that's what critical race theory introduces race theory for life, because you can give, again, we go back, you can never be pure enough for the mob. Just like the French Revolution. Everybody got beheaded by the guillotine because nobody could be pure enough for that mob. And it's never going to end, because now it's a verb and it's not a noun.
You know how we get out of poverty? We work harder.
Mm-hmm.
We take that second job. We get frustrated and we try and do better. And, you know, people didn't like Trump. I get it. They didn't think he was very presidential. But he had great policies and a great concept, which was America first, American workers first. And under Trump, the poverty level went down a lot. I just want to give you a couple more statistics.
Well, don't laugh about the statistics, because they're important in the base of this. Because what happens is this Kimberly Crenshaw, Alan Freeman, Cheryl L. Harris, the squad, Harris, Vice President, Biden. Well, we won't count Biden because he doesn't even know what day of the week it is. Schumer, Nancy, Nadler. We have governors of California, Michigan. They don't care about the numbers. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dennis.
You're right. They don't care about anybody but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So in the top 10 of the highest poverty rates in America, some of them are located in the Southeast and controlled by Republicans. That's South Carolina, which is 13%, and Georgia at about 13.5%. Two states with the lowest poverty rates, they're controlled by Democrats, New Jersey and Delaware. So this isn't a Republican or Democratic problem. It's a United States problem. See, we understand the companies are in business to make money, but the minimum wage hasn't been increased since 2009. Hey, we realize it can't be $15 an hour, or we as the American people won't be able to afford anything with our free time because all our money will be just to survive when prices are increased. They increase them because employers have to cover their costs. You know, 725 is not the right answer, and our politicians need to come together and fix this problem. But they would rather divide this country with this critical race theory instead of coming together to solve this inequality issue. But then again, when politicians try and solve problems, they'll screw that up too, Jack.
Well, you know why they're dividing us. The problem is that the politicians don't realize that we realize there's a political class, and there wasn't supposed to. So it took over 200 years to get rid of the Revolutionary War was fought to get rid of the aristocrat. And they replaced the aristocrat today with the political class. So your political class today is now your aristocrat. And they're the ones with all the say, all the money. I mean, they have big companies, Fortune 500 companies, instructing their workers on woke theory. Marquis builds fighter jets. Their job is to make equipment that destroys people.
Yep.
And they're training their people in woke policy. You're supposed to destroy your enemy with wokeness? I don't know about that. Just one more thing on this critical theory. It's a Marxist approach to social philosophy. It argues that the social problems are influenced and created more by societal structure, and cultural assumptions than by individual psychological factors. So if you believe what they're saying means you can never get out of it. And that's false, because you know what? When I see this guy on TV, I stop whatever's going on in my house. Talk about a self-made guy. Unbelievable. Never raises his voice like I do. Apparently I got some feedback that I talk like an animal. They don't talk. This guy talks calm like Dennis does. Ben Carson. Dr. Ben Carson.
I love him. I really do. He's great.
Unbelievable. Every time he says something, it is nothing but wisdom. All of the minorities that are athletes right now, making hundreds of millions of dollars. Charles Barkley, you're saying that these athletes should go out there and beat up on their fans? Fans pay their goddamn salary. Number one. Number two, maybe the fans wouldn't be so upset if this guy was making hundreds of millions of dollars playing a kid's game. And you want to know something? Maybe that fan would be 300 pounds of muscle like the athlete if he didn't have to work 8, 10, 12-hour days, 5, 6, 7 days a week, instead of practicing and working out to play a kid's game. The squad, Barack Obama, all of these people succeeded. If they continued with this theory, we wouldn't know about these people. They'd still be living in poverty. So, I have a question. Who placed these victims of today to their doom? Because the scientific racism has been discredited. So why is there so many not going to a good life? Where are these places? These people and places are democratically hellholes. New York, Atlanta, Chicago, LA. Everything these people are arguing are happening because of the politician they support.
You know what it comes down to is Democrats want uneducated voters. They will forever vote Democrat if they find that they can't educate them. When people don't want to do the research, it's a proven fact that they'll vote Democrat. But I went over a couple amendments to our Constitution. And the First Amendment was Amendment 19, which was passed by Congress on June 4th, 1919, and ratified August 18th, 1920. It said the rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. So before 1920, women were not allowed to vote. So the people during that time frame came together to right a wrong that was happening to a segment of our population. They realized that the Constitution applied to everyone, so they made this amendment so women could vote. The next amendment was Amendment 13, passed by Congress January 31st, 1865, and ratified later that year in December, and says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, wherever a party shall exist within the United States at any place subject to their jurisdiction. So again, the people of that time frame came together to right a wrong that had occurred since the beginning of this country. In these two instances, the country came together and it corrected a problem that was immoral. If this was a racist country, these two amendments would have never been ratified. And to teach our children, almost 160 years after this issue was resolved, that the white race is extremely racist is a lie. It's a false narrative. This is why we make amendments to our Constitution. Correct the part of our United States history that was wrong. We do this by coming together as one united group. There is no other way to accomplish something great unless we stand together. That is what Jack and I are trying to accomplish when we started this United States Constitutional Group. It's a place where we can come together, united as one voice. We say this every week, but we need your help. We can't do this alone. We have a lot of work to do because there's so many changes we need to make in America. And one of them, probably the most important of our time, is term limits. We'll ask you every week, please turn into this podcast. Give us your information, how we can improve. And if you want to get involved, email us at uscg2021 1@gmail.com. Get involved with us. Start a group in your area. If you're on Facebook, if you're on our Facebook page, you're part of our family and we value your opinion. So get in touch with us and let's keep America going on a positive path. We learn from our mistakes, but every single American is included and we right a wrong. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that is excellently said. And the problem with our amendments is that our current president literally went on TV and said that these amendments don't have to be there forever. Not in those words, but in that tone. He had a press conference and literally said that. And there's a reason why people like Kimberly Crenshaw, Alan Freeman, Derek Bell, Cheryl Harris, besides believing in the critical race theory, and they believe in the critical race theory because they don't read the Constitution. If they read the Constitution and see how this country can correct the wrongs, they would realize that what they're selling here is garbage. So why do they do this? Well, because they all wrote books and they have classes now to teach on the college level. And since they changed it from a pronoun to a verb, there will be no end to this racism. And there will be no end to their money coming in, spewing this racism. And they're making a lot of money doing it, and that sounds very capitalistic to me.
It does.
So, I mean, if you want to listen to hypocrites, listen to this critical race theory, because that's what they're selling. They're selling hypocrisy. They're making millions of dollars of it. Black Lives Matter made millions of dollars. And they made, you know who else made a lot of money?
I think they made over $1 billion. Black Lives Matter. I don't wonder how much went to social justice.
Yeah, none of it went to social justice, but they are changing the face of America through fear tactics, threats, and violence. And the Ku Klux Klan used to make a lot of money back in the day, doing the same thing. And the only ones that benefited from it were them. Well, they didn't. Their policies got passed. So they made money, and they got their policies passed through fear. And you want to know something? More than anybody else should know these amendments are the Republicans, and they have a perfect fighting tool. All they have to do is open up the Constitution and read it to them on the floor.
They won't do that because they're in bed with them. You know, we're sure most of you, everyone knows this, but the Democratic Party in the 1800s wanted to keep slavery, and it was the Republicans who were the ones to abolish it. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican president who got slavery abolished. The Democrats of today will use this critical race theory to try and win future elections. This critical race theory is doing just what it's supposed to do, dividing us. We have said it again and again. That is exactly what our politicians want. When we stay divided, they will always win, and we, the constituents, receive the raw end of the bargain and will never change until we say enough. Democrats are trying to brainwash middle America with this critical race theory. Wake up, people, before it's too late and before we lose our country. Politicians don't care about you, me, Jack, Mike, Margaret, my kids, or anybody. They don't care about black, white, Asian, male, or female. All they care about is holding on to power and heading this country towards socialism. And that's all of them.
Yeah. Well, the problem with their quote-unquote science and all the other alleged science in this field is they have been debunked. And there is no proxies. The gap in their theory is there is no way to correct for them. So if you're an outsider and you're looking at what they're saying, there's no way to correct it. Why do you think that is? The reason why that is that this leaves the political people where they are. It keeps them, the laws that place them there, it keeps them there. And then if it was to change, Miss Kimberly and her friends would have no more books to write or no more classes to teach, and there'd be no more speech fees. So through fear and violence, they push this science on the United States because they know the majority of the country doesn't know what the amendments are that corrected this 100 years ago.
You know, the Biden administration wants to push this critical race theory using federal funds. You know, who in their right mind would give up free money from the government? If they're giving it to you, we might as well take it. I mean, we've seen it every day through this COVID pandemic. People won't go to work because they're getting free money from the government. So the federal money to schools, they'll push this critical race theory, telling your kids and grandkids that we're a racist country. We believe that our children today should be taught history of the United States, including slavery, and how we came together as a nation to overcome that issue. They should also be taught that riots and burning down your cities is also wrong. They should also be taught that politicians and media work hand in hand to create a false narrative when it comes to this critical race theory. There are a few states that are pushing back and creating legislation and banning that theory from being taught, such as Florida, Texas, and Missouri. There are other states on board, but I wanted to mention this from Missouri. American history, civics, and historical literacy are a crucial faucet of education in schools across the state and country. Reframing that history through the flawed and harmless lens of critical race theory and the 1619 Project would be a disservice to Missouri students. And that was Eric Schmidt, Attorney General from Missouri. I mean, we'll talk about the 1619 Project in a future podcast, but it's an award-winning, though controversial, long-form journalism project by the New York Times, reframing American history around the slave trade.
Well, I tell you what, what this critical race theory is producing. So Biden and company, Biden, Sanders, Pelosi, Schumer, Nadler, the squad just wants Sharia law. But these super left-wing folks, they think that this critical race theory is a stepping tool to their socialism. Now, here's the problem with socialism right now. And I think we'll touch on socialism next week because this critical race theory is feeding right into it. These politicians want socialism because it leaves all the power and money in their hands. They're the political class. They'll be in control of everything. School, where you live, medical, where you die, health insurance, the courts. Everything will be run through them, and it gives them ultimate power. And they think that they're going to be the socialist. But they don't know who's going to come out on top. This could be fascism. This could be communism. So they skipped over doing a true democracy, which always leads to socialism, and went straight to critical race theory. And they're hoping that the end game is socialism. But it might not be, because the same thing happened in Germany. And the strong guy is going to come out on top. And we don't know who that player is yet right now. They're you know, in 1930 Germany, the winner was doing 2 years in prison at the time, writing a book. You know, and he come out of prison and he ended up ruling. And the one thing you do know about socialism is the first generation, it's awesome. Fascism, also, the first generation is awesome. When Germany came out of World War I, they were destroyed economically. So when Hitler came, he made everybody a car, the Volkswagen, wagon of the people, developed highways, all infrastructure. Everybody went back to work through infrastructure. And then, so they were happy. They got free money. They got jobs. Free money's going out right now. My kids...
By the trillions.
Yes, by the trillions. My kids are getting money for my grandkids. Everybody's happy right now. I'm going to make X amount of hundreds of dollars just because I had kids. That money's supposed to go to kids going to daycare and stuff like that. But it's not. Your working family it goes to bills. And now you're in debt because when they take that money away, you're losing thousands of dollars a year that you have to try and figure out how to make up. And that, my friends, is when the political class are going to take the knives out and start stabbing each other to figure out what kind of government's going to come out at the end. We got the best government already.
You know, we talked about socialism on a previous podcast, maybe three podcasts ago. So go back and listen to it. It was a pretty good, awesome information. But I loved doing this research. It gave me an opportunity to expand my horizons and educate myself. So when I was looking at this critical race theory, I noticed an article by a man named Delroy Murdoch. And this headline stood out to me. Critical race theory, loved by Democratic left, preaches black failure. That is so wrong. Critical race theories, anti-racist, racist, are serving potentially terminal social cancer from huge boiling cauldrons. That hit the nail on the head. He went on to say that critical race theory may be the Democratic left's filthiest, ugliest, big lie. It defines America as inherently and irredeemably bigoted, denounces all whites as racial oppressors, and diminishes all blacks as racially oppressed victims. Lies, lies, and more lies. The third lie is the worst. No one is oppressed in America anymore. We all have the same opportunity. Yes, it's harder for some people, but you know what? We all have the same opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what we said in that last podcast. This country gives everybody the opportunity. Some people have to work extremely hard to get to that opportunity. Hence, the number one example I use, Dr. Ben Carson. He was a neurologist surgeon on pediatrics. Can you get any more refined? This man is a genius. This man, I mean, unbelievable. Look at your TV, your idiot box. There are so many people making money off of that. And they're minorities. And they came from rough neighborhoods. They came from hard ways to go. Herschel Walker talks about it all the time. You know, Tim Scott, our own senator, lived through Jim Crow laws. His grandfather could not read the newspaper, but pretended like he did, so he gave the right impression to his children and grandchildren, that he sat at the morning table at breakfast time and read the newspaper.
That is amazing.
It could have been upside down and backwards. He didn't know, but you know what? He was going to set the precedent for his kids and his grandkids. That's generations. He's thinking about generations. And now he has a grandson that's in the United States Senate that is known throughout this country. And unfortunately, people chastised him. Chastised him for the work he did. Yep. People chastised Ben Carson for what he's done. So what does that say to a kid that's sitting watching CNN or MSNBC when they hear that guy the same color as I am? Geraldo Rivera came up. He's been in business for 50 years. God bless him. He's made money. He's done charities. He stopped that horrible hospital for the mentally ill and got true change. These are all minorities, you know. And as long as you keep talking about these people being minorities and disvalued, you're lessening what they accomplished. You know, these people worked hard to get where they are. I mean, Condoleezza Rice. I mean, you're going to tell me this woman, not only was she African American, but she was a female on top. She had two minority things to come over, issues. If she was here today trying to get into the same place she was when she was a young girl, which was harder? I would like to ask. Which would have been harder for her to overcome? The Jim Crow laws that Biden supported through friendships of senators that that filibustered against it, or today's critical race theory?
You know, I hate that word minority because I look at everybody else as an equal to me. Minority means you're not an equal, which is far from the truth. And the thing is, we all have the opportunity to become productive members of society. We can be whatever we want. We just have to work hard. That is what the Declaration of Independence means. We don't need someone else, like a king, telling us we can't be that person. We can be productive. The only problem with America today doesn't rest between African Americans, Asians, or Caucasians. The problem is our politicians. We have elected. They have failed to do the people's work, the job we sent them to Congress to accomplish. They are the complete failures, not we, the people, the constituents. We get along fine. We go to work every day, every ethnic group, every religion, and we do what we're asked to do. We demand that these politicians we elect stop failing us and do the job we want them to do. Stop failing us.
Again, part of that fault goes to us. We fell asleep at the switch. How many decades have we given Joe Biden, Nadler, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi?
These people have been in office for more than 30 years.
We have given them decades to right the wrongs of today. And now they come out with this? This is their solution? This goes back to another podcast we did. Could you imagine if we had to rely on our leaders today to write something like the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution? Could you imagine them trying to do a constitutional convention and write the laws of a country that's supposed to be... These people are idiots. They're morons. But you want to know something? As dumb as they are, we're that lazy to keep them there.
You're absolutely right. Hey, before we you end up with your final statement, I'm going to let you know that our Meet at the Tavern merchandise store is up and running thanks to your sister, Margaret. She is like so smart, way smarter than me. And it's awesome that she is part of us because she is doing a fantastic job. And without her, this store wouldn't have been up and running. It's on our Facebook page, fedupwithpolitics.com. Take a look at it, folks. Let your friends know about it. Purchase some merchandise. It's all about our displeasure with our politicians. And just take a look at it. You'll like what you see.
Yeah, you can wear a little sample of your displeasure on hat, shirts, knapsacks, cups, mugs. Margaret and Dennis met while Margaret was on vacation down here. She took her time away from her vacation to set up that store. And they met over my brother Mike's house, and they took care of business. And it's going to be a fine institute with that. And I just ask you one thing. Before you start doing any of that, start reading the Constitution, folks. Read it. I think it's 19 pages long.
You know, I've been doing an education piece every day on our Facebook, and I just finished Article 4, and actually we're getting some good feedback. It's a lot of people. There's a lot of post reads, a lot of interaction with people, and we try to answer everybody, but we don't always get the opportunity. Give us some time. We'll get there, but we're trying to do this every single day, and I hope everybody's benefiting from it because I know I am.
If we don't answer a question, folks, ask it again. Don't be afraid to ask a question again. Maybe put some exclamation points. Second time I'm asking, we'll try and get to you. There's a lot of good feedback on that Facebook, and we'd like to eventually get it where you can give us some feedback on our podcast too. You can do that directly
on our webpage. Our email is on there too at uscg20211@aol.com.
2021
and 1.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah, I had to add a 1.
Okay, Jack just learned something. So, am I finishing up here?
Yeah, we're about 45 minutes, so let's finish up.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. Well, I got a few things I want to say. Number one thing, the military is finally leaving the capital. Hey, can we believe it? So that probably means they're going to bring up some kind of gun control thing. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't think the people of America's building is going to be open to the U.S. citizenry. I see that in the House they're talking about a commission for the January 6, 2021 issue. I know it will not be bipartisan, and I don't trust the FBI, KGB, as far as I can see them. You know, the FBI operates more like the KGB than the KGB does anymore. History will show that the FBI law-breaking, and it will be the beginning of the call for the dismantling of them from the top bottom. I don't feel safe and confident with the U.S. government getting this done. I don't think that the FBI could investigate their way out of a paper bag anymore. Sorry to all you guys in the troops, but maybe if we had the FBI guys vote no confidence in their leaders, we'd feel a little bit better about the whole top to bottom. But they've stayed quiet. The United States government, I don't think that they could take care of a hurricane season right now. And if you feel like, as we do, the season that comes and it causes destruction to your community, with this administration, how do you think he'll be able to act with a constant assault from our enemies on top of a hurricane season? Doesn't look promising. It seems like the Democrats, through their actions, are placing the followings to me. The KKK, race division, throughout the U.S., critical race theory, Black Matters Matter, Antifa, FBI, KGB, Department of Justice, top to bottom. You know, they're talking about what happened on January 6th. That was the Capitol building when they went in there and, they broke some windows. And I don't want to make it a small deal, but what happened to the rest of the buildings that they were destroying all year? We happen to know that one was a federal courthouse in Portland. And the sitting attorney general said, well, that's not considered racism because it happened at nighttime. See that? So now I can fix this whole thing on January 6th commission is the next time you let anybody go into the State House, it should be done at nighttime. Number two, the United States is helping Russia control Europe through the pipeline that they just let go through to Germany for natural gas and close down our pipeline in the United States. Number three, this administration is helping Iran control the Middle East through the up-and-coming nuke deal 2.0. Number four, China to control the United States. I guess $1.5 billion gets you a whole country nowadays. You can buy the United States for $1.5. The FBI is the KGB. Iran used to give Hamas $70 million a year, and they just changed that policy to $30 million a month. So in rough numbers, what do you figure that is? $360 million a year they're going to give to Hamas now? Did they tip their hand? Did they show their cards a little bit that maybe they're going to be getting a few more dollars from the United States? Seems like it might be that way. That's all I got for this week so far.
That was a lot.
Sorry.
So you're good. You're good. So I want to finish up with two things. Last night I had...
can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Again, I want to thank our veterans. Your sacrifice, we can never repay you. And especially for the ones that sacrificed everything and never was able to come home. And to their family members, I'm sorry. I know we can never replace that loss, but that's what this podcast is about, to try and right the wrongs that are happening for the sacrifice that you folks had done.
Very well said. So last night, I don't watch the TV a lot, these days anymore.
Idiot Box.
Yeah, the Idiot Box. But last night, I wanted to watch Proud American by Fox News. And Pete Hegseth, he's a weekend host for Fox News.
Military guy.
He was a military guy.
Major, right?
I don't remember.
I think he was a major.
And the Tunnel for Towers, Tunnel 2 Towers. And it had me choked up last night because of what they're doing, the Tunnels for Towers is doing for not only veterans and the sacrifices they did, but also for police and fire and EMS and our first responders. Home Depot, GMC, they're doing great things. But there were two people on there that really stood out to me. And one was Conor McGregor, who's an MMA fighter. He's got an Irish whiskey. I've never tried it. I'm not a fan of whiskey.
I will now, though.
I'm gonna now. And I think he said he gives $5 per bottle to Tunnels for Tunnels to Towers. He's given $1.2 million already, with another $700,000 coming in the next couple weeks. And the second person was a country singer. I'm not a country fan, but Trace Adkins, very big on veterans. And his song "Empty Chair" was actually had me choked up. If you don't know what the empty chair is, it's actually a dinner table set for wanting that soldier to return home that will never return home, and you never ever get rid of that table. It's an empty chair. It's an empty dinner place, so you never forget about that loved one, that veteran, the one who sacrificed everything. And Jack and I want to tell you that we will never forget you.
We are going to put an empty chair as part of the podcast.
Yes, we are. Jack thought of that earlier, and it was a great word, great concept, and we're going to do it. But we appreciate you listening to us, but we need your help.
One more person I'd like to thank, Frank Sellers.
Yes, Frank Sellers. He's the chairman for Tunnels to Towers, and just listening to him, he's an amazing person.
His brother died on September 11th. He's the one that ran through the tunnel.
Yep.
He's the president and CEO of Tunnels to Tower, and he does not take one dime.
Nope. But we need you to spread the word about our United States Constitutional Group and this podcast. I mean, numerous times we'll tell you how important education is. The more we learn, the more we know. And these congressional hacks, as Jack calls them, will not be allowed to get away with their antics. We know you're fed up with politics just as much as we are. But please, please, please get involved with this United States Constitutional Group. Stand together, united. And I'll leave you with this. Knowledge is power. See you next week at the tavern.